All right, let's start the training.
Okay.
So, first thing I want to show you is, right now I'm not signed in to M5 right now. So when you're not signed in, first of all, you'll notice if I click here, you only have 4 options to choose from. But if I click Enhanced Search, you have more options to choose from. But it's still not all the options. Now notice when I'm not signed in, you have one big large box going across. Now, if I sign in, you will notice if I go back now, you have the box, but you have this little box over here on the right. And the purpose of this box on the right is to search for a field that doesn't exist in this drop-down. So, for example, location is not a option here. And I happen to know that 852 pound A is the location field. So I will type 852 pound A here. And when I do that, what happens is that causes me to search the 852 pound A field instead of the subject field. Whatever you put in these little boxes overrides what's selected here in the drop-down. And then if I type the value in here and click search, it would bring up all the records that have the word test and 852 pound A. And you only get this option when you're signed in. So I just wanted to show you that because it could be useful to search for values in fields that is not selectable in the drop-down. Now, I'm going to go over everything there is to know, almost everything, in cataloging. And then we're going to jump to circulation, groups, reports, and inventory. So the first thing I want to do is I want to show you the hard way to add a record. I want to show you the hard way, and then I'm going to show you the easy way. So the hard way is this way. You will click the down arrow here, and you will choose Add Record. And click Add Record, you get the template. And then you will fill in the template information. Let me show you, I'm gonna get back to that in a second. I want to show you something else real quick. I just thought. I'm going to do a search here for dogs. Well, maybe not dogs. How about
pigs?
There we go. All right. So what I want to show you is I just did a search, and let's see if this works here. And if I click Share Search, you will notice. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me go back to this here. So I want to do it on this site right here. All right. So I'm going to do a search for dogs because I know there's a dog in there hiding. All right. So I did a search. Now, you notice this share search box here? This is used if you want to share your search result with someone else. So if I click the share search box and I copy this link, and then I open up another tab and paste that link in this tab and press enter, you will notice it brings up the same search results. So what you can do is when you click the share search, you can take this link and you can email it to someone if you want to share your search result. But one thing you have to be careful is in some email programs, if there's a space in the link here, it will end a clickable part of the link, and then the rest of the link won't be clickable and it won't work if someone clicks on it within the email. So if you send this link to someone, I would recommend that you put in the email that they should copy the link and then open up another tab and paste it in. And that way it'll work for sure. And then you can get a list of their links. The other thing I want to show you is after you do a search, you get these filters on the left. So this allows you to filter by certain types of books. For example, if I wanted to see just the ebooks, I would click on ebook, and I would get only the ebooks right now. Or if I, let's say, click on fiction, it'll filter everything out and just show me the fiction books. So these filters can be very useful to filter out different things that you want. Okay. Now let's get back to this site here. I'm going to close this to make sure I'm going into the right site that I want to continue on with. All right, so let's get back to the hard way to add a record. So you go here, you click Add Record, and you get your template. And the reason why this is the hard way is you'll notice that none of the fields are filled in. So you have to fill them in. So if I type in something here, and then, you fill in your author, all that information. And then if you go down here, this is the call number area. So, for example, in the class number, if it's a fiction book, usually you would put FIC, or if it's a nonfiction book, you would put a Dewey number. Now for item part, that's usually the first three letters of the author's last name. You put the first three letters. And prefix is, not everybody uses prefix, but some people will use it. For example, some people might want to classify adult fiction from young fiction. So you can put FIC, for example, in the class number, and then you can put young in prefix or adult, which narrows it down more. But a lot of people don't use the prefix, they'll leave it blank. And then here, you would enter your barcode number. And what happens is, when I click Save, down here, you would choose the group you want the item to belong to. And then when I click Save, you will notice that the holding and the bib are created at the same time. This here is the bibliographic record. When I click on the title, this right here is the holding record. And notice how, even though I filled in the information in the bib, when the holding was saved, it took the information from the bib, which is this number and that, which is the first two letters of the author's last name, and the barcode, and put it in the holding. Think of a holding as a placeholder. For example, if you have, let's say, 5 copies of a book, you would have one bib record, which is this record here, and then you would have 5 holdings, which means you would have 5 copies of that book. Another thing I want to show you is if you want to add another holding, you can just click Add Holding, and you notice how the information is already filled in. And then you put the barcode, and then click Save, and now I just added another holding. Now, sometimes you might have a lot of holdings to add. For example, if you have, let's say, a textbook, you might have 20 copies of that textbook. So you would have one bib, and you'd have 20 holdings. And you don't want to have to click Add Holding 20 times. So the fast way to do that is you can edit any one of the holdings. So I'll just pick this holding. You scroll down to the bottom, and you got this Generate Holdings box. And if I click that, I can tell it how many holdings I want, and I'll put 20. I'll tell it what barcode I want to start at. I'll put 1,000. And then this here increments that number by 1, so I have it set by 1. Now, if I was going to put letters before the barcode, I'll put that in the BC prefix box, but I'm not, so I'll leave that blank. And then all I have to do now is click Save. And notice, all the holdings were created, much easier if you have to add a lot of holdings to a bib record. And you'll also notice, when I go back here, when the record was created, you have this green circle, which means there's holdings, and it tells you 22 of 22 available because none of them are on loan right now. Okay? Now, another thing I wanted to show you about the template is if I edit the template, or actually not edit it, let me show you this. If I go back here and I go to add record, you'll notice you have a select amount of titles here, or boxes that come up by default. You might not want all these options here, because you might not use them all. Or you might want a entry in here that's not here right now. So what you can do is you can create yourself a custom template. And the way you do that is you, first of all, go to Advanced Editor, because Advanced Editor is the only place where you can add or delete fields. And by the way, if you ever want to know what these fields are, you can just hover over it, keep it there, and then you will see it shows you the word. So you know what that field is. You can also go here and click Insert Field, and it shows you all the fields and shows you the names of the fields. And if you're ever confused about what field, like for addition, you don't know what field that is, you can just type in something there, go to Advanced Editor, look for what you typed, and now you know that addition is the 250A field. So let's say you wanted to add another field to this template. You click Insert Field, look for the field you want, select 520, and then if you click OK, it shows you the subfields within 520. And then I'll choose A, click OK, and now I inserted a 520 field. So now I got two of them. Now, if I wanted to save this template, you go back to Basic Editor, you go to Save as Template, and you can click OK, which will override the existing template, or you can give the template a name that means something to you, and then click OK, and now I just created a brand new template, and there it is right there, and if I select it, that template will come up. So you can create yourself your own personal template to meet your needs in here. Now, that's the hard way to add a record, because when you add it that way, you have to fill in all the fields yourself. The easy way to add the record is to choose Record Fetch. Record Fetch by default goes out and searches the Library of Congress. Now you can add other sites to search, and I'm going to show you how to do that when we get into the setup. So right now I'm going to search for the word dogs. Very popular with me. And so right now it's looking at the Library of Congress, and it found some books in the Library of Congress. So here's a book that I'm going to add. So to add this book to the Library of Congress, all I do is go down here, choose Library, add record, and it says one record's added, and that's it. This bib is added to your database with all the fields filled in. If I edit it, you will see all the fields are filled in for you. You don't have to worry about that. But you will notice, though, when you add it to the Library of Congress, you notice how you have a red circle here and it's 0 to 0? You don't have a holding yet. All right? That's the difference between adding it manually and adding it for Library of Congress. Now, to add a holding, you click on the title, and then you click Add Holding, and again, you fill in the class number. So if it's a fiction book, I'll put fiction. Put the first three letters of the author's last name, whatever that may be. Give it a barcode. Click Save. And now you'll notice if I go back, you got the green circle and it says 1 of 1 available. So that's the easy way of doing it, because that way you don't have to fill in the fields. But sometimes when you search for a book, it won't exist in the Library of Congress, and then you will have to add it manually. Okay? Now,
Can I ask you a question?
yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
Speak up, get closer to the mic.
Okay, this is using V39.5 default, right?
I'm having trouble understanding you. You sound far away from the microphone.
Okay, sorry. I mean that this is usually, can we add our own institutes? Like if we are interested in adding Columbia University's bibliograph into the collection, so we can download from the record as well. Can we do that?
Yes, you can add your site to include it in Record Fetch as long as your site has the Z3950 protocol. And to do that, I'll show you later, you have to know what the host name is, you have to know what the port is, and you have to know, let's see, I believe, but you have to know the host, which is the IP address or address, the port, and you have to know the database name. And I'll show you how that's done when we get into setup.
All right, great. Thank you.
All right. So now I'm going to show you other things. So here you got a home button and you got a reset button. Both of these buttons do the same thing. The only difference is when you click reset, it'll log you out, and when you click home, it will not log you out. But both buttons will take us to the same place. So I'm going to click home because I don't want to be logged out. And it just takes you back to the home page where we started. Now, the other thing I want to show you here is you've got your reading programs. You can use them. You got Lexile, Fountain Canal, Accelerator Reader, Reading Counts. And, for example, if I choose Lexile, when you search, you have a sliding bar here where you can choose the range you want. But you can also type your range in the boxes here. So if I do 100.1 to 100.20, you can do that range. And you notice how close the two sliders got. It would be really hard to get this precise of a range using the sliders. It would be too touchy. So we allow you to type your numbers in these boxes here as well. The other thing I want to show you is you have these bulletin board buttons, these 4 buttons. All these buttons are links. And you can change the names of these buttons to say other things. So, for example, right now this button is a news button. So if I click it, it takes you to the news site. And then this here is the web search. And if I click this, it'll take you to the Google search page. And then down here, you have your visual search, your recommended reading, and your gallery, and you can change these words also. And if you don't want these buttons to show, or if you don't want one of these boxes to show, you can turn them off. And I'll show you how to do that in the setup. So in visual search, if you click that, it will expand, and you have 3 types of buttons that you can create in visual search. One button is called a topic button, and a topic button is like a folder. You know how you put things inside of a folder. So for example, chemistry is the topic button. So if I click it, all it does is it shows other buttons that are within that chemistry button. So I clicked on chemistry, and then you will see here you've got biochemistry, organic chemistry, inorganic chemistry. So a topic button is like a folder. It's a button that you can put buttons into. The next type of button you can create is called a query button. And all a query button is it does a search for something in your database. So if I click this button, which is a query button, it searches for space travel. So if I happen to have an item in my system that has space travel in it, it would have brought the item up. And then I click the home button to go back. The third type of button you can create is a link button. It looks like I don't have a link button set up, but the link button would work just like these buttons. It would just take you to a website that you put in. Okay? Recommended reading is used to add books that you want to recommend. And I'll show you how to do that when you get in the setup. And then the gallery is used to add pictures, which I'll show you that as well. When we get the setup, I'll add some recommended reading items, and I'll add some gallery pictures. And then down here, you have your flags to choose your different languages. And then here, you'll get this button right here, this I, only if you're signed in. And what it is, it's the library assistant. And if you click it, brings you to this page which will answer common questions you might have. And it also shows you, it's got our manuals. You can contact management. Shows you the latest version of M5. And if you click it, it shows you the release notes, so you know what's added to this version. So this can be very useful to you. The other thing I wanted to show you is, let me set up some features here for just a second so I can show you the options I want to show you. So, hold on here. Let me get into my setup here just to double check something. And I'll go over all this with you when we get to this section. Let's sign back in. Whoa. Whoa. I don't know what happened there. All right. Another option I wanted to show you is you also have a contact your librarian option. And this is so you can contact the librarian. So you click on that, and then you put in your email address, whatever it is, and then you put your subject in there that you want, and then you put in your message, and then you click send, and this message will be sent to the librarian. And when we get in the setup, I'll show you where that email is stored that tells the system where to send that email. Now, let's go back to home again. The other thing I wanted to show you is if you go into select library, this is where you can choose if you want to search for books, which is standard, if you want to search for patrons, or if you want to search for equipment items, you can select one of these options. So I wanted to show you that. And then I'm going to go over now cataloging tools. All right, so we're going to go into there. And we're going to cover each of these options right here. Okay, so let's go over the first option, import. When you import, you can import either a mark formatted file or a delimited file. In my example here, I'm going to import a mark file. So to do that, you simply go down here, click the folder, and navigate to where your file is. So I'm going to go to where that is, and I'm going to import this nursing file. So I click it, and then you have to upload it. And then it's going to show in this list of files, and there's the nursing file. And I have to select a table first. I'm going to choose bibliographic records. And then I'm going to go here to the right, and I'm going to choose import. And then when you get to the first screen, the one of 3, it shows you all the records that are in that file. Then if I click next, we get to this screen. Now, notice how the fields are already mapped. You can see that it's got fields here already in there. That's what the advantage of records are, is they always have the fields mapped for you. And you have these boxes. These boxes allow you to see different parts of the record. So, for example, I know 245 is the title. So if I click on 245, you're going to see the title information, nutrition. If I click the right arrow, I'll get more books. Or let's say I want to see the subject. I know 650 is the subject field. So if I click that, I will see subject information. And notice how all the fields are mapped. Now, if this was a delimited file, these boxes would be empty. And you would have to tell the system where to map each one of these fields. So you'd have to click the arrow, choose a field, let's say, and then scroll down to where you just clicked, and then you see the subfield. Then you'd have to choose the subfield that you want to map to. But we don't have to do that here because it's a marked formatted file. Now, one thing you have to pay attention to is very important is always look and see if there's an 852 box. The reason why that's important is because if there's not an 852 box, then what will happen is after the import's done, you have imported all your bibliographic records, but there'll be no holdings imported. None of the bibs will have a holding attached. You'd have to go back and re-add the holdings manually. But you will notice I have an 852 box, and if I click on it, it shows all my columnar information. Remember, the 852 field is what goes in the holding. Okay, you got your 852A, which is your location, 852K is your prefix, 852H is your class number, and 852P is your barcode. All this information that's in 852 is what goes in the holding. So since this information is here, when I import this file, my holdings will be created at the same time as the bibs, and I'll have holdings attached to the bib. So always look to see if you have an 852 box. So now I'm going to click next, and now I have to tell the system what group I want the records to go into. So I'm going to choose General Collection, and now I'm ready to import. So I'm going to click Finish. Now, notice how I got a split screen here. You will get a split screen only when you import a record that already exists in the database. This is called a duplicate record. The screen on the left here is from the file that I'm importing. The screen on the right is from the record that's already in the system. And now you have to decide how you want to handle this. And the options are down here. So if I choose Save Existing, it's going to save the existing record that's already in the database and not import this record that's in the file. If I choose Replace Existing, it's going to take this file on the left from this record on the left from the file, and it's going to replace this with this. If I choose Import, then it will import this record on the left, and it will leave this record alone in the database. So if I choose Import, you will end up with two bibs in the system, two bibs that are exactly the same. And if I choose Do Not Import, then this record on the left will not be imported, and this record on the right will be left alone. Okay? So I'm going to choose Save Existing. So I'm going to save this existing record. So I'm going to click Save Existing. Now it's going to go import the next record. And notice it found another duplicate. Now sometimes you might have 30 or 40 duplicates. You don't want to have to keep clicking a selection every single time. So what you can do is you can click Don't Show This Window Again, and then select one of your ones you want here. So if I click Don't Show This Again and click Save Existing, then what you're going to do is when it's importing, whenever it runs into another duplicate, it's going to know to automatically implement this Save Existing behind the scenes, so you don't have to keep clicking it. So I'm going to click Save Existing, and now it's importing. I don't have to keep clicking if it finds a duplicate. And that's it. It just imported those records into the database. And that's how you import. And now we have the export option. This is used if you want to export records in the database out to a file. And the only type of format you can export into is a marked formatted file. So here, you can do a search of the record you want. So I don't have that many records. I'm just going to put an asterisk here, which will bring up all my records. And so here are my records. I've got 36 records. I'm just going to select the ones that I want to export. All right, so I'm going to export 3 records. So all you do now is you just click Next, give it a file name, and notice how it says include text extension. You must put a .txt at the end of the file. So if I put a file name, make sure I put a dot there, and I click Finish, it exported those 3 records into this file. And now if you wanted to save this file to your computer, you can just click on it, and you can choose Save File, click OK, and the file will download to your computer. And that's all there is to exporting. And then you got your ISBN, ISSN fetch. So this you don't have to worry about. This was created before record fetch was created. This is the way you used to search the Library of Congress. Much more complicated. Here you have to search for the records, and then you have to export them to a file, and then you have to import the file using the import. The record fetch is much easier, so this is just left over before record fetch was created, so you can ignore this. Then you got your find and replace. There's a lot of things you can do in find and replace. For example, one thing you can do is you could do a custom search. So if I just do a search, here are a list of items. Once you get the search results you want, you can click Print, and then you get yourself a nice looking report that you can print out based on your search results. So you can do a custom search for the report that you want. Another thing that you can do here in this area is you can delete and purge. Delete means the record's marked for deletion but still in your database. Purge means the record is being completely removed from the database. There's 2 ways that you can delete and purge records here. Right now, I just did a search on bibs. So these are the bibliographic records. And remember, I said if you had 5 copies of a book, you would have 1 bib, and then you would have 5 holdings attached to that book. So since these are bibs, if I, for example, chose this bib, and I chose to purge it, that means that this bib would be removed from the system, and also all the holdings attached to that bib will be removed as well. And this is the only area, by the way, where you can purge directly. Usually, for example, in cataloging or circulation, you have to delete the book before you can purge it. But here, you can purge it directly. You don't have to delete it first. And you can only purge records that don't have an open transaction. If any record has an open transaction, then the record cannot be purged. All right? The other option I wanted to show you here is you can also search for holdings. So if I choose holdings and do a search, you get all the holdings. Now, the difference here is, if let's say you had 5 holdings attached to a bib, and this holding is one of the 5, if I purge this holding, the bib will still be in the system, and the bib will still not be deleted because there's still 4 more holdings attached to that bib. However, let's say the bib record only had 1 holding, and if this is that holding, if I purge this holding, then you would want the bib record to be deleted automatically, not purged, just deleted, which means it's still in the system, but it will show as a red. It will be red because it's marked as deleted. And the reason why it does that is because if you purge the last holding that belongs to that bib, you will now have an empty bib with no holding. And so that you can't really do anything with that bib if it's empty. Now, sometimes people have e-books, and e-books typically don't have holdings because you don't loan those books out. You only have to have a holding attached to a bib if it's going to be a book that you're actually going to loan. And e-books are not a physical item, so you usually don't loan e-books. Now, another useful feature here is you can choose upload barcodes. And the reason why that's useful, you can add the barcodes from a file, or you can just scan them in. And the reason why I like this feature is you could have a cart of books that you want to delete from the system. You roll that cart of books over to your scanner, and then you start scanning those books in. Fix that. And then when you click upload, I don't have no barcodes like that. Okay, and then if you click upload, it brings up the items that you scanned. And then you can choose select all, and then purge them. And that purges the holdings, not the bibs, because I've set for holdings. And so the bib will be left over. It'll be deleted. You can also edit items here. You can edit you can view the holding if you want. You can edit the holding. Or if you wanted to edit the bibs, since I'm looking at the holding right now, you can click this, and then this is the bib record, and then I can click here and edit the bib. So that's another feature that you can do in this Find and Replace is you can also edit your records. Another feature I want to show you, and you only get this when you're searching for bibs, is this merge feature. Now, the purpose of this merge feature is, remember I said that if you had 5 copies of a book, you would create one bib and you would add 5 holdings to that bib. Well, sometimes librarians will make a mistake. So instead of adding 5 holdings to a bib, they'll have 5 bibs with one holding attached to each bib. And then they'll discover that and they'll say, well, I don't want 5 different holdings with 5 different bibs with one holding attached to each bib. I want a single bib with 5 holdings attached to the bib. So now the way to fix that is you have to move the holdings from the other 4 bibs into that single bib so that you will have all the holdings attached to one bib. So the way you do that is, and let's pretend that these 4 items are the same title. Okay, they're all the same title, and this one's the same title. So let's say all these are the same title, and you want to get the holdings now from these 4 bibs into this bib. So what you do is you select the bibs that you want to move the holdings from. So I'm moving it from these 4 bibs, and then you click merge next to the record you want the holdings to move to. So when I click merge here, it will take the holdings from these 4 bibs and put them into this bib. And then these 4 bibs here that are checked will turn red because they will be deleted, because they will be empty. There will be no holdings in those bibs anymore. It will just be an empty bib. Now, a lot of times you might want to find all your bibs that are empty. Maybe you want to clean up your system. You don't want all these empty bibs. So the way you can do that is you got this search for bibs without holdings. All you got to do is click this, and then it will show you all the bibs down here that don't have a holding. And then you can just simply select all and purge those empty bibs that you don't want anymore. So there's a lot of stuff you can do here in Find and Replace. Now we're going to go to collections. Now collections is used to add a bunch of books to a single collection. So for example, you might give a class an assignment, and you might call that assignment, let's see, you can call that assignment, if I click new, you can call that rock music. And then if I click save, I now have a collection called rock music. Now you have to add items to that collection. Now one thing that's important that I want you to notice is it says here, search bib 960 pound A. The reason why it says that is any item that you add to this rock music collection, it will have in the 960A field of the bib this name in it. Okay, so all bibs I add to this collection will have the word rock music in the 960-pound A field. And that's important, and I'm going to show you why later. So now I'm going to add some records to this rock music collection. So I click that pencil there, and then I'm going to click Upload, and then I'm just going to scan in some items that I want to add to the rock music collection. And then I click Upload. And I got 2 items. That third one, maybe I mistyped the barcode. But anyway, I got 2 items here. And then I'm going to click Save. So now you'll notice when I go back into this collection, I got 2 items added. I don't like the fact that one doesn't have a title. So I'm going to get rid of this item. And I'm going to upload another one. So let me see. I'm going to do 10, 12, upload. Let me get rid of 10. There we go. All right, so I got 3 items here attached to this collection. I'm going to save it. Now, when I show you later on how to create one of those query buttons I showed you, I'm going to show you how you can use this collection. Just remember what I did here, all right? And so now we're going to move on to picture upload. Picture upload is used to upload pictures of patrons. So the way to properly do this is you always want to make sure the pictures are the barcode of the patron. So for example, if you have a patron with a barcode of 123, you want a picture called 123.jpg. And the reason why you want that is during the upload process, the system is going to try to match the picture that matches the barcode of that patron, and when it finds a match, it will automatically attach that picture to the patron. So what you do to add the pictures is you click the blue folder, and then you go to where the pictures are. And on my computer, the pictures are here. So let's say you wanted to choose a bunch of pictures. You would hold the control key down, for example, and then I can click on the pictures I want. And then if I click Open, notice it looks like it only added 1 picture. But don't let that fool you. All the pictures are there I selected. And then when I click Upload, all the pictures I chose will be uploaded, and it's going to match the barcodes or the names of those pictures to the barcode of the patron, and it will automatically attach those pictures to the patron. All right, that's picture upload. Now we go to message management. This here you can create patron messages or item messages. I'm going to create a patron message, and I'm going to type here, do not loan items to this person. And then I click Add, and you will notice I created a message. When we get into circulation, I'm going to show you how this message is utilized. But just notice how I did it and how I created the message. All right, and can you still hear me okay?
Yep.
You still hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll make sure. All right. So now, that is everything I wanted to show you in the cataloging tools. Now we're going to get into setup. Before I get into setup, though, I want to get some information I'm going to need here to show you something in setup. So let me just get some information here. Let me go back. And I'm going to change this to full mark view so I can get the information I need. I just want to write down 2 ISBN numbers that I'm going to need to show you what I want to show you. And I'm going to get 1 more ISBN number. All right. That's one thing also I want to show you here is you can change the view of this. There's different views. Like here's bibliographic view, here's expanded view. So you can have it show how you want to. And if you want to sort your records, you can, after you get your search results, you can sort them by how you want if you want to do that. All right? All right, so now we're going to go on the setup. So you scroll down, and only when you're signed in, you're going to see the Enter Setup option. So I'm going to click Enter Setup, and then I'm going to sign in here with admin, and then Boca Space Satan. Now, by default, you also get an admin Boca Space Satan login over here, but they're not the same patron. Okay, this patron here that you used to log in with has nothing to do with the patron here. So now I'm going to click Sign In, and now I'm in Setup. So it takes you to the server configuration. This area here you don't have to worry about. We will fill all this stuff in for you. And then we go to Library Settings, and here is where you can choose the logo that you want by clicking Browse, go into the logo, selecting it, and upload. You can choose your logo. This is where you type in the name of your library that you want to show, or you can put a subtitle. And then here is the email. Remember I showed you the Contact Your Librarian? This is the email that my Contact Your Librarian message would go to. And that's where you would put it, right here. All right? Now we're going to go to Options. In Options, there's a lot of different things you can do here. I'm just going to go over some of the things. So, for example, remember I showed you the visual search box, the recommended reading box? You can change the names of those boxes. So, for example, if you don't want the box to be called visual search, you can just type in this box what you want to be called, and then when you save it, it will say the name in this box instead of visual search. And the same goes for recommended reading or visual search here. And you can change the names of those boxes. You can also disable things. If you don't want visual search to show or recommended reading, you can change on to off. Or if you don't want reading levels to show, if you don't use reading levels, you don't want Lexile or Fountain of Pinel, you can turn them off. Another option you can do here is after you get your search results, you might not want the results to display in bibliographic view. You might want them to display in a different view. Or by default, after you do a search, the results are unsorted. The reason why they're unsorted is you'll get your results faster. But you might want your search results to sort by, let's say, sort by, let me get right here, sort by title by default. So if you set this to title, then when you do a search, all your results are going to be sorted by title instead of unsorted. So that's some of the features you can do in Options. In Style, you can change the background of the screen. Like right now, my screen is set to World. You'll notice when I go back, I'll have like a globe in the background. You can also set it to a style of blue background, a crimson background, a purple background. So that's what Style is. Change login and password. This is where you can change the login and password to get in the setup. If you don't want it to be admin Boca Space Satan, you can change that here. And then here you got your record icons. So for example, this icon will show only if a div has in the 007 field position 0 equal to a V and 007 position 4 equal to a V. Now what I mean by this is, I'm going to show you. So if I go back into my site here, so for example, if I do a search for records, if I edit this record, if I add the 007 field, I can go to Insert Fields and choose 007. You can also type the field in here. So I'm going to type it. Press Enter. And there. And it gives me this box. So I'm going to make position 0 equal to a V. Then it gives me more options. And I'm going to make position 4 equal to a V. So, all right. Click OK. All right. So let's see. All right. So you see now in the 007 field, I have position 0 equal to a V and position 4 equal to a V. So that means that if I can find where I was, this icon would show on that record because it matches this criteria. So that's what determines what icon shows. And if you wanted to add your own icon, you can go down here and click Create New Item, and then you can browse for your icon, upload it, and then you don't have to worry about the XPath. Don't worry about filling that in. Just worry about filling in the OPAC field. And you can create your own custom icon to show when a record meets the criteria that you set in this box. Like for this one here, for example, this one here in the 000 field, position 6 has to have an A and an M, which basically means position 6 is an A and position 7 will be an M. So this is where you create your own icons. Here is the Z3950 search. Let me go back there. I don't know why I didn't take it. There we go. Now, this is where your record fetch is done. So by default, when you do a record fetch, it will search the Library of Congress. And then you ask me if you can search your library in a record fetch. You can, as long as your library supports the Z3950 protocol and you know what your host is, your port, and your database name. If you know what that is, you can go here and create new search and fill in that information. And then in the name field, you'll give the name of your library. Usually I'll put the description the same. And then you save it, you'll be able to search your library as well, or whatever library you want. And I have a PDF file I can send you if you're interested that lists a bunch of libraries. And it shows you what the host is, the port, and the database name. So if you want that, you can email me. And my email is Michael D, MICHAELD, at MLAsolutions.com. And I can send you that PDF file.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, that will be very helpful.
So,
Michael, quick question. There is a WorldCat that we often access, the WorldCat.
right.
So, like, that has bibliographic records from all sorts of libraries from all over the world. Do you have that in the PDF? WorldCat?
I don't know if I have that, but I believe I have the setting here. Let me just take a quick look here. Let me see if I have that. Because that's pretty popular.
That's very popular. And it's free.
Oh, here we go. If you've got a pen, write this down right now.
Yeah, sure.
So WorldCat, the host, you've got to write that down. You need that. So write down the host, write down the port, and write down the database name. Let me know when you've got that written.
Okay, I'm just going to take a picture of that.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, got it.
Well, now you can add that into the search, and you have it part of your record fetch. So let's go back here. All right, so that's C3950. Now you got your visual search. Now remember, I told you there's 3 types of buttons you can do here. You can create a topic button, a query button, and a link button. So this is what a topic button looks like. You just put the name of the button in. That's it. You just put the description and the caption. The description shows the name. The caption is so when you move the mouse over it, you hover over it, it'll show you that name as well. That's all that is. It's a folder. Think of a topic button as a folder. And then the other type of button you can create is a query button. This is your query button, and this is what a query button looks like. Looks just like you're doing a search in N5. This query button, if you click it, it's going to search for the subject, space travel. And if you have a book, space travel, it'll bring it up. And then the third button is the link button, which I don't have here, so I'm going to create one. I'll just click Create Link. There's the button. I'm going to go to Modify. I'm going to browse for a picture to add to that button. And I'll upload it. And then I'll give it a name. And I'll put the same name here. And then I'll put the link I want to go to. Save. And now I have a link button. So if I click that, that'll take you to the Google search page. And you can delete these buttons, by the way, too. If you don't want these certain buttons that come as default, you can delete them. Or you can modify them to do what you want. So you can do whatever you want. Now, this is what I wanted to show you. Remember I created that collection called rock music. So I'm going to create a button here for that rock music collection. So for that, you do create new query. There's the button. I will modify it. I will choose a picture. Upload it. Give it a name. And then remember I told you, whenever you add a div to the collection, it puts the name of that collection in the 960A field of the div. So here I will type 960 pound A, and just like before, whatever I type in this little box overrides the selection to this box on the left. So I'm going to search the 960 pound A for the word rock music, and then click Save. So now I have this button called rock music. So now, if I go back into my site, and click here, and if I click on rock music, you see, it brought up those items that I put in my collection. So if I was making an assignment called rock music, and I wanted students to not search the whole library for books, but I wanted to assign certain books for that project, I could put that in the collection, create a button for it, and the student would click that button and then see which books that they could select for that project. So that's where that collection option comes in handy. Let's see now. I'm going to get back where I was. Right. So that is the visual search. Then here you've got your bulletin board. These are those buttons I showed you going across. And these are just links. So you would go in the English box and you would change the names of the buttons if you wanted to. And then you could put a URL. This one doesn't have one, but this one does. And you can just fill in the URLs that you want these buttons to be for. And you can make the buttons go anywhere you want to go. And then here you got your record templates. Here, you usually don't have to do anything. This determines what template comes up by default when you go to add a record. So when I go to add a record, the book template's going to come up by default because that's going to be the most popular. If for some reason you wanted a map template to come up, you would choose map, and then when you go to add a record, the map template will come up. But most of the time, you won't have to go in here and change anything because it's set for what most people would want. And then here you got your recommended reading. So I'm going to add 2 books here. So I'm going to click Create New Item. I'm going to click in the ISBN box. And then I'm going to type in my first ISBN number. And then I'll click OK. And notice how it filled in the rest of the information from the book. And then I'm going to create one more item. Oops, wait a minute. Oh, how did I get there? I don't know how I got back there. Let me get back where I was. Alright, so let me type in the ISBN number. And it filled it in, and I click Save. So I just added 2 items to the recommended reading, which I'll show you in a second. And then you got your gallery images. I'm going to add some images. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to Browse for an image. I'll choose this one, Upload, and then I'll create a new image, Browse, choose this one, and Open, and Upload, and Save. So now when I go back into the site, you'll see there's 2 books here now for recommended reading that I added. And I have two pictures I added here, two galleries. So that's where you would add that. And that completes everything in the setup. Now we're ready to move to circulation. So let me sign in and get the circulation. All right, so here we are in circulation. Have you ever loaned any items out yet?
Yes.
You have. Okay. So you have an idea of how to loan items. All right, well, remember the patron goes first and the item goes second. So, for example, if I'm in loan mode and I put an item, I'm going to get please enter patron. It's always expecting the patron first. So if I want to loan an item, I put the patron, I put the item, and I just loaned the item. Now, sometimes people will search for the patron's last name instead of putting the barcode. The problem with that is once you have the patron up, it can search for an item too. Because remember, patron first, item second. In rare instances, if you type a patron's name, you might get an item up. So if you clear display, you know that you're guaranteed now to get a patron. Because if it's blank, it's not going to search the items at all. It's just going to search the patrons. Okay? So let me show you some features you can do here now that I loaned that item. Now, one thing you can do, you'll notice the item is due on February 12th. You might not want that item due on February 12th. So if you click on the date, you get this box that comes up. Now, if you have a pop-up blocker, you won't see the box. You're going to have to let it go through the blocker. Now, I can change the due date now. I can go and change it to the 28th, click OK, and I can even change the time it's due. And now it's due on the 28th. That's one thing you can do. Another thing you can do with your loaning books is usually when you loan books, it's paying attention to the loan period in the group that the book belongs to. So if the general collection group, let's say, has a 14-day loan period, then when you loan books, they're going to be loaned for 14 days. But maybe you want to override that. So you do that right here by session due date. You click the down arrow, click the box, and then if I change a date, now every single book I loan will be due the 22nd. So if I loan this one, notice it's due the 22nd. I loan another one, it's due the 22nd. This is overriding what the loan period is for the group that the item belongs to. Now, to turn this feature back off, you just uncheck it. And now if I loan another item, now it's due the 12th, because I have a loan period of 1 day. Another thing you can do here is, let's say you lost your internet connection, and therefore you can't use Mandarin. You have to write down on a pad of paper your transactions. So let's say you're writing down all your loans that you did yesterday on your pad of paper. And then today, the internet comes back up, and you want to enter those transactions back into Mandarin. Now, when you enter them into Mandarin, you don't want them to look like the transactions you're done today. You want to make it look like they were done yesterday when you originally did them. So the way to do that is you put in a patron, you click change date, you backdate to yesterday. Well, actually not yesterday, because it was a Sunday. Let's say let's pretend Thursday. I'll go to Thursday. Click OK. So now when I loan an item, notice it looks like it was done on the 7th. So that way it looks like you did it on that day it was originally done. So that's what that's used up for. Now, got to be careful, because if you type another patron in, this date will be set to today's date. So if I put in patron 1, watch what happens to February 7th. It's going to change to today. See, flip back. So always be aware of that. Now we're going to go through some other options here. You can click here and you can do all these different options here. You can edit a patron. You can create a new patron. Remember that message I created back in the cataloging tools? Let me show you how you add that message. So if I go here, I can go to messages, and I click the message button, and then here's that message: do not loan items to this patron. If I click right here, that's going to attach this message to this patron. So I click it, and then I click back. Now watch what happens when I bring the patron up. Do not loan items to this patron. And then you have to decide if you want to override it or not. So that's what the messages are for. It can be very useful if you want to provide messages to the librarians. And then, of course, if you want to return a book, you can just click Return here and just scan your books in and return them. You can also return books here as well by just clicking on what books you want to return and clicking the down arrow and choosing Return. And then there's different type of transactions here. You can renew an item. So if an item is on loan and the patron comes back and brings it back before it's due and wants to keep it longer, you can renew the book. You can do a reserve. A reserve is for, let's say a book's on loan to another patron, and this other person wants that book, but it's not in your library. You can reserve it for that person, and so it'll create a reserve transaction. And then, when that book is returned by the other person, that reserve will change to a hold, and an email will be sent to that person who just had the hold to let them know the book is now in the library and to come get it, and you're going to take that book and place it behind the desk. And then when the person comes into the library to get the book, you're going to loan it to that person, and then that hold will change to a loan. That's what the reserve is for. And then you got booking. Booking is used to give books to people in the library, but they're not going to remove it. Or maybe it's a piece of equipment. So for example, if I do P1, I'm going to get rid of this message. It's a pain. So I'm going to detach the message. All right, now the message is going to be no longer attached to that patron. See, it'll come up. So now if I want to book the item, I'm going to put an item. You get the screen. Let's say I want to do an hourly loan. I'm going to click Add. And so this is going to loan, let's say I'll do here, I'm going to loan from 9:15 and to 3:15. Okay, so if I click OK and click OK, I created a booking, and it's from 10:14 to 3:14. And then here's status. Now status can be useful because if I clear the display, you can't bring up an item. Remember, patron first, item second. Oh, but in status mode you can. See? That's the useful thing about status. I can bring up items here without having to bring up the patron first. And the beautiful thing about bringing up an item here is once it's brought up, I can click here and look at the history of the item. So I can see who had that item in the past. And you can do the same thing for a patron. If I bring up a patron, I can look at the history of the patron and look at all the different books that patron had and when they returned it, when they loaned it. Very useful. And you can put that information. So that's very useful information. Then you got your self-check. Self-check is if you want students to be able to check in or return books themselves. So if I click self-check, it takes you to the screen, and then it's locked in the screen so I can't do anything else. So if I wanted to check out a book, I put my barcode in, put my item, and I loan it. And if I want to return the book, I just return it. So that's if you want patrons to be able to loan and return books themselves. And they're locked in the screen. The only way you can get out of it is you got to close it. And then you got to go back in again. So let me sign back in. Go back to circulation. And then you got your self-return, which is the same thing if you want patrons to return. Here you got in-house circulation. All in-house circulation is used for, and a lot of libraries don't even use it. If you have a way of knowing what books are taken off the shelf but not actually checked out of the library, this way you can keep track of books that are popular to read inside the library but not removed from the library. And there's no patrons involved in this type of transaction. You just type in the item. That's it. That's an in-house transaction. And the item doesn't show. So if I, for example, put 4, that's it. I just did an in-house. That's it. I just did another one. You won't see any transactions, but there's an in-house report you can run, and I'll show you the reports when we get there, and I'll show you which items were done with an in-house transaction. Here, you got library transactions. There's a lot of things you can do there. Before I do that, though, I want to make a book overdue. So I'm going to change the date here, and I'm going to backdate, and I'm going to load an item. And now I have an overdue item. All right, so now we're going to go to library transactions. The first thing you can do here is you can create a custom report. First, let me tell you where it shows here. When you go into library transactions, you're going to see a list of all the open transactions. These are all transactions that are currently out of your library. And you can customize the results you get. And you can also sort this. I can sort by the title, by clicking on that right there. See how it changes? I can sort by the creation date. You can still hear me, correct? Are you still there?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so you can sort, and so it's very nice here, and you can filter. So, for example, let's say a teacher came to you and said, I want a list of all the books that are currently out for my class. You can do that here. Right now, it's showing you all the books for all the classes, but you can filter. I can go here and filter by teacher and put in the teacher's name, search, and then I'll get a list of all the books that are out for that teacher, and then I can print it, and then print this report and hand it to the teacher. And there's many different types of sorts you can do. These are all the different, filters. These are all different filters you can do. You can also filter by the item group. I can just show all items out by the patron group if I want to, or out by library assistants. Another thing you can do here is you can send overdue notices and fine notices. So if I go here and click the down arrow, I can show all overdue books. So I choose overdue loans all, and it shows all the books that are overdue. Notice I have a send notification button here. If I click this, this is what it's going to say in the email. If you don't want it to say that, you can type extra stuff in there, or you can erase the whole thing and type your own thing in that you want. Or if you want something to come up by default here that's different, you can let us know and we can put that in there for you. That setting. Once you got this saying the words you want, you click send notification, and then it'll send an email based on what the email is in the 110M field of the patron record. Now, sometimes you might want to send emails to both the patron and to the parent. You can put more than one email address. For example, you could put an email address in 110M, and you could put an email address in 111M, and you can put another email in 112M. So that way you can have it sent to the student, the father, and the mother, if you wanted to. And if you happen to have a fine, you could choose overdue, or let's see, where is that? Over here. You can go to fines all. I don't have any fines right now. And you'd still have the same send notification, and you could send fine notices. Now, one thing I want to show you is you will notice that you have to come here and you have to be interactive with the software. You have to click send notification in order for something to be sent. But we have another option here, and if you're interested, you can email support@mlasolutions.com. Support@mlasolutions.com. And let me show you what this option is that you can get. We install this on our end here, and there's different ways we can set this up. We can set this up to send an overdue notice to everybody that has an overdue every day, or we can set it up to send an overdue notice to everybody that has an overdue on a certain day of the week. Or, if you want, you can set this up to send an overdue notice when it's overdue 2 days. You can send another notice to the person when it's overdue 6 days, and another one if it's overdue 12 days. And we can also send date approaching notices. So, for example, if a book is due 4 days from now, you can warn them it's going to be due in 4 days, and you can send a second notice warning them it's going to be due in 1 day. And you can do fine notices. You can send a notice 1 day after the fine was created. You can send a second notice 3 days after the fine is created. So if you're interested in us setting this up for you, you just tell us what parameters you want, and we can set this up on our end. And that way, overdue notices or coming due notices, wherever you want turned on here, can be sent automatically behind the scenes. You don't even have to be interactive. It'll just automatically send them out.
Okay, that's great.
So that's an optional feature. So let's go back in here. Go back to circulation. And then here you got your options. So in options, there's different things you can do. You've got your miscellaneous settings here. You click the circle, and you can choose to enable sound. So if you have speakers attached, if you do alone, you actually hear the word alone come out of your speakers. Remember I told you that when you get rid of all the holdings that belong to a bib and you have an empty bib, the bib is deleted, you want to make sure that this is on. This is usually off by default. But if you click it here, it's delete bibliographic when the last holding is deleted. So when the last holding is removed from that bib, and it's an empty bib, that bib will be marked as deleted. Then you've got your other options here, your return and renewal operations. Choose selections here. And then going back to miscellaneous settings also, you can choose if you want to, down here again, miscellaneous, if you want to print your checkout transaction receipt. Another thing you can also do is if you go here to edit SMTP server and email notification settings and click edit, you can click here for email transaction receipts. That means every time you do a transaction, an email will be sent of that receipt to the patron. If you check this box right here. Another option you have here when you go to options and circulation is got your schedule. And by default, it's set for due time is the closing time on the day the item is due, and make item due on the first open day that follows the close day. And then here you got your schedule. Here you got your holidays and exceptions. You can put what days you're closed. And then here you got your global recalls. Let me explain what global recall is. So if I create a global recall date here, let's say of June 12th. So if I create a global recall date of June 12th, this is how it works. And if I loan an item out today, and it's got a 2-week loan, the item will simply be due 2 weeks from today. But if I do the same loan on June 11th, what will happen is the item won't be 2 weeks from June 11th because this date is going to act like a brick wall. Anytime you get close to this date and the system sees you're going to have an item due after this date, it's going to force that item to be due on this date. That way you're guaranteed to never have an item due after the date that's set there. So this date's very useful if you want to set it for the last day of school, so that way you will never have any items due after school closes. So this acts like a brick wall. It forces all items that would normally be due after this date to be forced to be due on this date. So that's what that is. And then the other thing you can also do in options is you can do group notifications. If I click here and I want to send a message to a group, I can choose patrons, type in the subject, the message, send it. It'll go to every single person that's in that patron group, that message. And you can also upload transactions. So, for example, if I wanted to upload transactions for a bunch of patrons, I could put patron P1, put the items I want to loan to that patron, put patron P2, and put a bunch of items that I want to loan to that patron. And then if I click upload, it'll automatically loan all these items here to patron P1 and all these items here to patron P2. So you might want to use that maybe one day to upload transactions. All right, so that covers everything I wanted to cover in circulation. Now we're going to go to groups.
Okay.
Groups is used to assign rights and loan periods to items. So, for example, we'll look at the patron group first. We'll look at administrators. Administrators have rights to do everything. So if I edit the administrator group, go to circulation blocks, you will notice that anybody that's an administrator has rights to do all these different functions.
Mm-hmm.
If I go to circulation limits, there's no limits here. That means anybody that's in the administrator group can have as many books as they want. If I had this loan limit set to 2, that means that anybody in the administrator group can only have 2 items out at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Circulation access. Administrators have access to circulation, and they can do all these different options in circulation. If you had a library assistant, for example, that you wanted to just do loans and nothing else, everything unchecked and just have loans. Here you got OPAC access with more rights. Cataloging access. You notice they have access to cataloging, and they can do all these different functions in cataloging because everything's checked. You have item group overrides. This is important. Can you explain what this is? Item group overrides is, for example, let's say in the general collection group you have items in there set for a 2-week loan period.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say you want people in this group to only have items from general collection to be loaned for 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now in my example, I have a 1-day loan in my general collection. So my general collection has a 1-day loan. But let's say in this group, I want them to have a 14-day loan. Well, I can check the general collection group, edit it, change this 1 to 14, click apply and OK, and apply and OK. Now, anybody that has a loan that belongs to the administrators group from the general collection, they will have a loan for 14 days. Because, remember, this is called item group override. So this is overriding the selection that's in the general collection. So for these people, they're going to get the book for 14 days. But for everybody else, they're going to only have the book loaned to them for 1 day.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the nice thing about item group override is you can set specific loan periods for specific groups. Let's see. And then here it lists the members. Let me go here. I got more members over here. I edit the patron group. It lists the people who's in the group. Now, if you wanted to move a patron to a different group, and it works the same way for items, you just choose the patron you want, choose the group you want to move them to, and then click Move To, and then now move to that group. I just moved them to librarians. Now, if I want to move them back to librarians, I just go back to members, and I can click here, and I can search all my patrons. I don't have that many. So here's patron P2, I believe I moved to librarians. If I want to move back to patrons, there's patrons, move. And now it's back into the patron group. Now if you want to create a new group, you go right here. Well, let's move to it. Let's go back. Okay, so if I want to create a new group, I select the type of group I want to create. If I want to create a new item group, I click Item Groups, choose New, and I just created a new group called New Item Group 1. And then I want to edit the group, so I want to change the name for a name that I want it to be. And then I can give it circulation periods. Usually we won't do that for ebooks, but if it wasn't an ebook, I can give it a loan period I want. I can tell it what the fine is I want to charge each day. I can give it how long I want a renew period to be for. I can give it a grace period. Let me explain to you what grace period means.
Mm-hmm.
Grace period is, let's say an item is overdue.
Yeah.
But the item's only been overdue for 2 days. If I return the item today, I will not be charged a fine because I'm returning it within the grace period. But if the item is 9 days overdue or 8 days overdue, that's past the grace period. So if I return it, I will now get a fine generated for all 7 days plus the 8th day that I return the item. That's what grace period is. And then here you can put a reserve period, how long you want the reserve to be for, and a hold. Now, that is for item groups. All right, so that basically covers everything in the groups section. Now we're going to go to reports. So here are the reports. So I'm going to run reports that can show you how it works. So I'll go to labels. I'll run sequence of barcodes. And it says, please enter the first barcode. So I'll put 100. I'll click OK. It says, please enter the number of barcodes. I'll put 20. And then I'll click OK. And then I get to this screen. Let me explain to you what these options are. So I can save the report to My Reports or Common Reports. Now this doesn't save the report results. It saves the report parameters. You will notice when I went to run the report, it asked me what barcode I wanted to start at, and it asked me how many I wanted. Well, if I save this to My Reports, only you would be able to see it, no one else. And if you ran the report from the My Reports after you saved it, it won't ask me what barcode I want to start at or how many barcodes I want, because the parameters I selected will already be built into the report. That's what's useful about saving the reports. For example, if you, let's say, do an item list and you're always sorting by title, you don't want to have to, every time you run that item list, to tell the system you want to sort by title. You want to just run it one time, save it to either My Reports or Common Reports, and then run it from there. And that way, when you run it, that sort option that you chose to sort by title is already built into the report. So if you run it, it's going to just sort by title automatically every time. So the only difference between My Reports and Common Reports is in My Reports, only you can see it, but in Common Reports, everybody can choose that report. So there might be certain reports that you might want to share amongst everybody if it's popular, or you might have one report that only will be for you. Another option you can do is put your email address in here, and then when you submit the report, you'll get an email with a link that you can click on, and when you click on that link, it'll bring up the results of that report. Now, I'm not going to choose any of these options. I'm just going to submit it. And when you submit a report, it shows up in the queue. You have to wait for the report to move from the queue. Once it moves from the queue and goes into results, you can then click on the report to see the results. So I'm going to click on this report, and then it shows me the results of the report. Now, I have a new report module coming out. Let me show you what that looks like. And if you want this new report module, you can email, again, support@mlesolutions.com. And this is what the new report module looks like. It looks like this. So if I click the plus sign for labels, and I want to run a report for, let's see, I'll do this one for item group. I'll put it in general collection. Click run report. Notice I got the results right away. I didn't have to wait. It didn't go to a queue, and then I had to wait for it to move. I got the results instantaneously. And that's the nice thing about this new report module. And the other thing that's nice about the new report module is that we can create custom reports in here as well, which we cannot do in the old module. So if you want that new report module, just email support@mlasolutions.com. Okay, so that covers the reports section. Now we're going to go to inventory. So what inventory is used for is what it does is when you scan books into the database, it looks at the status of that item. In other words, it will compare the item you scanned in to the status of the item in the database and tell you the results of that comparison. So to create an inventory, you click Create New Session. And let's say you want to do a partial inventory. You can click Call Number Ranges, click Create New Call Number Ranges. So let's say I want to do just the fiction book section. I would do FIC to FID. Now you're asking me, why if I'm doing fiction, why didn't I put FIC to FIC? The reason why is you have to look at these boxes like this. The first box is equal to or greater than. The second box is less than. So I'm saying pay attention to only items that are equal to or greater than FIC, but less than FID. Which basically means it's doing just FIC. So if I choose this selection and do inventory, it will only look at the fiction section. And the reason why you want that is because since you're only doing a partial inventory and only scanning the books in your fiction section, you want it to look only at your fiction section, because if it wasn't looking at your fiction section and looking at all the sections, then all the other sections that you didn't scan books in for, they're going to come up as missing. Whereas by you telling the system to only look at fiction, an item won't come up missing as long as you scan in all the fiction items. Now the way this works is that the classification part looks at the 852H of the holding. Okay? So right now, this is only going to pay attention to items that have FIC and 852H of the holding, and it doesn't care what's in 852K, which is the prefix here. So if this is unchecked, it doesn't care what's in K. If I check this, now it's going to care only about the items that have FIC and 852H of the holding and don't have an 852K. But if I take the value now in this box, now it's going to pay attention to only the items that have FIC and 852H and has this value and 852K. So that's the way you can do partial inventories. I'm not going to do a partial, I'm going to do a full inventory. Now to add items to inventory, you click barcode sets. And there's two ways you can add barcodes that I like. You can do add barcodes from tricorder. So you click this, you can either scan the barcodes in, or you might have a device that you carry around the library, scan the barcodes into it, bring it to the computer, and then upload them. And then when you click OK, and OK, it adds those barcodes to the inventory. But I prefer not to add items to inventory like that. The reason why is if for some reason inventory becomes corrupted and you can't get back to it, you will have to go back and rescan your books. And I don't think you want to do that. So the way I like to do inventory is I like to use Notepad. So I'll open Notepad. I'll scan my barcodes into Notepad for a certain section, like let's say the fiction. And then once I have the barcode scanned, I will save this file and I will call it fiction. And I will have a Notepad file with those barcodes in it called fiction. And then what you can do is when you want to add those barcodes to the system, you choose Add Barcodes from File, click Browse, navigate to where that file is, and then click OK, and they'll be added. The reason why I like doing it that way instead is because the barcodes you scanned in are backed up to the notepad file. So that way, if your inventory ever becomes corrupted and you can't go back to it, you will not have to rescan all your barcodes that you scanned because they're saved in the notepad file. So all you have to do is just create a new session, as simple as this. Just go to home and just create your session. That's it. You go to barcode sets, add barcodes from file, add them back in, and you're done. You're ready to go and continue where you were. So I like using notepad files because that way I have a backup. All right, that's what I like to do. So I'm going to do inventory. So after you do inventory, you get a status, a statistical report, shows you all your statistical information. And then you got these tabs. Now, if the tab's grayed out, you can't click on it, that means it's empty. If the tab is not grayed out and you can click on it, that means there's items in there. And I'm going to tell you what each of these tabs mean. So first, let's start with newly found. If there were items in newly found, that means that you scanned an item into the inventory that was already previously marked missing. Whenever an item is marked missing, it puts a letter M in the 994A of the holding record. So if you scan in an item that has an M in the 994A field, which means it's already been marked missing, the system will say, wait a minute, you're scanning this into inventory, but this item is missing. How can you have this item if it's missing? So it's telling you it's newly found. So now you can unmark it missing. There's an unmarked option in the newly found area. And then here you got your missing items. Missing items are items that you scan into inventory that are not on loan. Let me repeat that. Missing items are items that you did not scan into inventory that are not on loan. So if the item's not on loan, and you did not scan it into inventory, it's going to come up as missing. And you have two types of items that are showing here. You have a red item, which means it's missing, but has not been marked missing yet. So you have to confirm it's really missing. And then you will see items in here that are black. If it's black, that means it's already been marked missing, and because it's black, and it's showing up in here again, it's still missing. All right, so you're going to have red and black items. Here's invalid barcodes. You get items in this area if you scan in a barcode that doesn't match a barcode in the database. So if you scan a barcode in and it doesn't exist in the database, it's going to come up as invalid. Misplaced means that you scanned items on the shelf that are out of call number order. So if an item was scanned out of order on the shelf, it'll show up in misplaced. Low shelved means you scanned in an item into inventory that's currently on loan. So maybe someone returned the item, the librarian got distracted, put the item back on the shelf, and forgot to return it. So anytime you scan an item into inventory and it shows it's in loan shelved, that means the item is still on loan, but it can't be because it's in your library. You just scanned it into inventory. That means you have to go back and return the item. The item shouldn't be on loan. No barcode simply means that you have holdings with no barcode. There's no barcode number in the 852P field. Duplicate barcodes, you should never really get that because usually if an item is at the same location as another item, you shouldn't be able to use the same barcode on both items. A barcode is unique. So if you ever get items in the duplicate barcode area here, you should call us so we can take a look at that. Out of range means that you're doing a partial inventory, you're just doing the fiction section, but somehow you scanned in an item that does not have FIC in the 852H of the holding. It's got something else. It's got maybe a Dewey number in there. And that's saying that you have a book on the fiction shelf that doesn't belong on that shelf and needs to be put back on the proper shelf. And you're only going to get an out of range when you're doing a partial inventory. If you're doing a full inventory, you will never get out of range because there's no range to be out of because you never set a range. You're doing the whole library. You're doing the whole range. And then statistics is the statistics that we showed you when we first did it. And that covers everything that I wanted to cover. So if you have any questions or want me to go over something again, now is the time to ask me.
No, this is very, very helpful, Michael. This is, your system is quite amazing.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to save this recording. So let me, I hope I was recording this.
I hope you are. There's something I want to go back and read.
I think when I end this, it's going to save it.
Okay.
Let's see. If I click this. I think it's still recording. Yeah, good. See there, look. Meeting recording in progress. So we're good. It's recording.
Okay.
Oh, good.
So it's not going to stop recording until I stop this. So let me see if I can. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to send me an email to the email address I gave you, Michael D, MICHAELD @MLAsolutions.com. And then just say you want me to email you the recording. And then I'll send you a link to get this recording we just did.
Yeah, and also the PDF of the, the codes,
Yeah, I'm going to send you an email. I'll also give you the PDF file of all the record fetch sites.
Yeah.
And you already got the record fetch for WorldCat GPUs.
Yeah, I made a, snapshot of it.
Right.
So what you gave me, that's not part of the PDF?
I don't even know if that's in the PDF, that one you took a snapshot of.
I see.
So I would keep that snapshot to the side. But the other one I'm going to send you, the PDF's got a lot of sites in there.
So how did you find the code for the WorldCat?
I just knew it, so it gave it to me. That's it, so it gave it to me. Just like I'm going to give you this list of all these sites that's got the host, the port, and the site name, all that stuff. It's all going to be in that PDF file I gave you.
Right. Okay, excellent. Thank you so much, Michael. This has been very helpful.
So I think
we will be in touch.
All right, I'm going to end the session now.
Okay.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Katie.
Bye. Lovely. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. So we will be in touch. So I will talk to you later.
Okay, sure. All right.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.